An opinionist by the name of Ethan Gack over there at the meme factory that is Kotaku recently dropped another hot take trying to smear Ready or Not through the same hysterical lie and then sprinkling on the buzzwords of propaganda and alt-right fascism just to ensure that those who read Kotaku unironically wouldn't touch this game anyway really aren't going to touch this game. Good job, Ethan. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret here of why this article exists. Ethan doesn't care about Ready or Not. I doubt he really thinks the things that he says in this article for a couple different reasons. So let's talk about this hit piece and why things like this are garbage and low effort. I've archived the article down below so that when you read it, you don't give them the clicks or the revenue, so that this kind of incoherent grasping at straws doesn't get the benefit of our clicks. Anyways, I want to go through this paragraph by paragraph with you because this doesn't really make any sense. It's just incoherent rambling. In the very first paragraph here, he shows his hand because he says that Steam currently loves it. And with that phrase right there, that means, boom, he's got to write an article on it. He's got to find some sort of controversy on it. We got loads of clicks last time, so we need another article like that. I think like 2 weeks ago, this game was the #1 seller on Steam. So obviously it's popular. It's got the same player count now as Battlefield, essentially. So that's the only reason why this article exists, not to prove a point, not really because Ethan is worried about this game, but because it's a top seller. At its best, it's an admirably tense puzzle game punctuated by twitchy shootouts, but it's also a violent political fantasy with no capacity for self-interrogation. Whatever the heck that means. What kind of self-interrogation are you going to be doing in a game? Developed by New Zealand-based Void Interactive, Ready or Not puts you in the boots of American law enforcement tasked with bringing order to chaos of a failed state being torn apart by economic stratification and crime. Your tools for pacification, and listen to this list because he leaves something out very specifically. Your tools for pacification include assault rifles, shotguns, submachine guns, and of course, an endless supply of military-grade zip ties. He says absolutely nothing about the non-lethal approaches. He doesn't say anything about the pepper ball gun. He doesn't say anything about the taser, nothing about melee. He just uses these lethal examples, and that's on purpose. I guarantee that he knows about this, that or he's only spent 30 minutes in the game, but I guarantee that he knows about this, and he's specifically leaving it out just so that his audience can think, oh, this game is just all violence all the time, just shooting people. It's a very dishonest approach there, Ethan. Deployed across poor neighborhoods, car dealerships, and gas stations, your job is to methodically reach and clear labyrinth-sized levels until all of the bad guys are in custody or dead. Keep an eye on this phrase too, because this is important later on. Fail to execute each encounter according to the proper rules of engagement, and you'll be chastised with failing grades at the end of each level, like a bad score of Dance Dance Revolution. Now, he uses Dance Dance Revolution here because he wants to tone down the fact that you'll fail the mission if you do a bad job. If you're a bad cop, you don't do a good job at this game. You fail the missions. And he wants to downplay that. He wants to think it's just some little feature in the game that slaps you on the wrist and no harm, no foul. But you get an F if you shoot like 2 civilians. If you break the rules of engagement and are a bad cop, you do a bad job at the mission. I don't know how else to put that. I just think that words are so important here, and that's why I get so annoyed at the words that he uses later, because he just throws them out so casually. Even before it blew up, Ready or Not sparked controversy and lost its publisher after one of the developers seemingly recommitted to adding a school shooting level. This is nonsense. This is an absolute 100% a lie. Team 17 and Ready or Not parted ways mutually. They didn't lose their publisher. What kind of nonsense is this? How does this pass as journalism anymore? This is what happens when you're expected to write like 2 to 3 articles a day and you can't think of things to do. That's what happens when it's a 24-hour news. It's the same thing in the media. That's what happens when it's a 24-hour news cycle. You don't do your research, first of all, but second of all, you just go with what's trending the most and you find a way to provoke clicks, right? I mean, YouTubers like myself do the same thing. For me, it's a lot of speculation on games and the future of games and what they could become. But for Ethan here, it doesn't matter because he's not going to get in trouble for this. Who's going to hold his feet to the fire with this? He's still going to keep his job. He's still going to write other articles. Who cares? Kotaku doesn't care. He just portrayed cops as bad in this. So they're all on board. Moving on. Ready or Not is more like a game of mousetrap than a round of Call of Duty. You'll spend more time peeking around doors for traps and spraying and praying, leaving behind a trail of chem lights to mark where you've already been. Eventually, you'll hit upon NPCs who won't surrender and who instead pull weapons and start lighting you up with the superhuman fury of a Matrix agent. Hence the fear and trepidation with which you and the rest of your squad, bungling AI companions if playing solo or other players if online, make your way through affordable housing meth labs and hotel under siege. Okay, true, nothing too wrong with that. They are bungling AIs. This is where it starts to get good. It's an incredibly evocative combo, helped in part by detailed sound cues and an eerie ambient drumming of the electronic soundtrack that's handled with all the care of a toddler running with scissors. What? I don't understand that one at all. Same thing with the self-interrogation. I don't understand what he's trying to say with that. But Ready or Not's realism is effective enough to disturb, but too shallow not to descend into farce or worse. Blue Lives Matter cosplay with fascist overtones and alt-right dog whistles. Oh boy. There we go. There is the key to this article. Ready or Not is a Blue Lives Matter cosplay with fascist overtones and alt-right dog whistles. Ethan, you nailed it right on the head here. Nobody is as wise as you, buddy. I don't get it. This is the problem I have with people using things like fascist overtones and alt-right dog whistles so casually. It's like the boy who cries wolf. If you find this stuff in everything, if your purview finds this in everything, one, your life is going to be miserable, but two, you actually downplay the fact that there are some real threats when it comes to fascism and alt-rights. But Ethan wants to portray everything in his life as fascist and alt-right, and that's what his audience honestly wants as well. So he knows that. He knows that's what they're going to be reading, and so that's why he throws that in here. But his evidence is even better, though. An Easter egg in the game's starting headquarters area consists of, get this, a red pill box in the trash can with the words noggin joggers on the side, which some have interpreted as 4chan speak for the N-word. There's like, what, 8 people that use 4chan now? 9, maybe? Just because it's used somewhere on the internet for something like this doesn't mean that's what their intention is. It doesn't even mean that's what it means. Void Interactive also responded to this, but I don't know if Ethan has ever seen The Matrix, but the red pill thing is kind of well known, and noggin joggers are just a little term for puzzles. And unfortunately, I guess Void Interactive has said they're already going to be removing this from the game, but I don't know why. Why would you give in to some bully like this? This is just nonsense. the rest, elsewhere, a box of vitamin D supplements for boner health from Whore Food sits on the table next to spare ammunition. What? What does that mean? That's funny. What? I don't understand. While the other vitamin box references the Pepe meme. You know, every single person across the political spectrum, especially on Discord, uses the Pepe meme. Where does this guy live? Like, what reality is this guy in? There's also the now infamous anal staircase sign from one of the game's old trailers, which belongs to an upcoming sex club level. So, I honestly, what is the point he's trying to get across here? He has some weird references. There are some funny things in the game. How does this relate to alt-right fascism, to Blue Lives Matter? What does that even mean? Random bystanders have only a few recorded lines they'll bark at you at the moment, one of which is, "My mom has a Mexican maid, you might know her." Okay, I want to address this because this voice line stood out to me and it just seemed silly, but I'm assuming that this is one of those alt-right dog whistles that he's talking about. Has he ever seen Family Guy? Consuela? She's the Mexican maid? What does that even matter? Like, that's not a racist thing. Is Mexican racist now? Are Mexican maids racist? I don't know. Then, this is where he becomes a real thinker. Then there's a law and order ideology that frames the rest of the game. America is on the brink. Crime is at an all-time high. It can't be fixed, only subdued. The game trains you to fear everyone you meet, not as a commentary, but as a wish fulfillment, and with seemingly no awareness of the nation's recent reckoning with an epidemic of police killings. Okay, going back to what you said in the article, first of all, you fail the game if you're a bad cop. If you kill people in a bad way, you're a bad cop. You fail the mission, ding dong. And also with this, what, are you never allowed to make a cop game if there's cop things going on? Are you not allowed to make a military game if there's military things going on? Like, what is his train of thought here? Video games are art, and they've always been art. They've been used to portray something about society or put modern day immersion in, like you are in the position of something that's realistic. Like, these situations that Ready or Not places you in could be real situations. Like, these are things that SWAT teams encounter, I'm sure. And the way the game shows how tense these moments can be, that's all part of the game design, dude. That's all part of art. That's all part of understanding an experience or understanding the intensity. Just because it's a cop game doesn't mean it's some sort of propaganda. That's bogus and it's lazy. Amidst these disorienting tonal shifts, which range from juvenile to the openly racist, again, watch Family Guy, buddy, there are incredibly grim moments like when you come across a child writhing in pain in her pink bedroom. Wounded civilian, clear and prep for evac, your SWAT officer says in his RoboCop voice. Whether it's because Ready or Not remains an incredibly bare-bones early access game or because Void Interactive lacks the sophistication, makes the entire affair feel crass and exploitative. Okay, first of all, when I saw this girl in bed, I have 2 kids of my own. When I saw this girl in bed, my heart sank, right? I was placed in the position of these, I guess, SWAT officers, and I felt a sort of sadness because this is a child. And they have minimal voice lines now. I don't, what are you talking about? Crass and exploitative? Again, he's just lazy. I'm getting tired of saying that. That hasn't stopped Ready or Die, real clever, buddy, from receiving a flood of positive user reviews praising the game on Steam. Because it's a good game. Because it's intense. Because it's immersive. Some no doubt because they see it in the seeds of a faithful successor to the old SWAT games, and thus return to the kind of slow, tactical, claustrophobic gunplay that even games like Rainbow Six Siege have mostly abandoned. Others like it because of the way it drapes that gameplay in a strongman cop worship. There are no female police officers in the game yet, and it provides a neat and tidy way to counter one system of violence with another. Gotta throw that female thing in there, right? Gotta have that equality. Yeah. There we go. The fantasy doesn't come cheap, though, in real life or on Steam. This is the first time I have to read that again. The fantasy doesn't come cheap, though, in real life or on Steam. This is cheap fantasy in real life. What? Ready or Not's beta currently costs $40 to take part in, while a special supporters edition is twice as much. I'll tell him that's not cheap. You're right. I wouldn't pay that much for this game. It's impossible to render final judgment on a game that seems more unfinished than not, but so far, it's not shaping up to be the kind I would trust to handle the simulation of a school massacre. Again, this is what happens when journalists are just in it for clicks and when they're expected to produce 2 to 3 articles a day. I know this is an opinion column, but it's a bad opinion. There are lies involved here. It leaves out specific things just so he can get a rise out of his audience. And that's insincere, it's dishonest, and it's not acceptable in the journalistic space. If you want your website to be deemed credible, if you want people to go to your website to try and get the latest articles, to try and get the latest news, to expect honest reporting and honest opinions, you can't be doing stuff like this. You can't leave things out just so that the people that are going to read it get a rise, just so you can make the point of your narrative that cops are bad. That's ridiculous and it's unacceptable, and this game doesn't deserve that. I'm not a fan of Ready or Not's high price. I'm not a fan of how they've done things overall by charging $120, but I am a fan of the game. I do respect good art, and most importantly, I hate when there's nonsense like this that just makes actual problems less significant, because it makes everything a problem. If you're in the business of making everything a problem, that drowns out real problems. That causes real problems in society. That causes the downfall. That causes things like racism and fascism and alt-right dog whistles to actually thrive, because nobody knows when you're telling the truth. So those ideas spread more instead of people being like, oh yeah, that's racist. Oh yeah, that's fascist. Oh yeah, that's an alt-right dog whistle. It's just trash, man. It's just annoying. I'm so sick of it. They do it in game journalism, and they do it in real journalism too. And if they're willing to spin the narrative here, if they're willing to lie to you, outright lie to you on something like this, it just begs the question, what else are they lying about, right? All right, I know this one is probably pretty long. This isn't what I normally do, but I felt a need to address this because I just think this is nonsense. I'm a very relaxed kind of guy, but I do have a passion for words and what words mean and how you use them, especially when it pertains to culture and the cultural narrative. So I just wanted to address that here. I'm tired. This is just a dumb article. It's very, very bad. It's poorly written. I don't know how he got it past his editors. But that pretty much wraps this one up, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you have a great weekend. Until the next one, be bold, be courageous, stay tactical.